All right. Now we are going back to the Dvar Malchut that we started yesterday. Last week, actually, we started it. And here we go. This is where we got up to. That's where, there we are. Here we are. Good. All right. We're talking about here, especially the holiday of Shavuot, when we received the Torah, and the Jewish people received the Torah in the desert. And the Rebbe explained that the reason the Torah is in the desert, because the desert unifies all opposites. How does the desert unify all opposites? Because the desert has no qualities of its own. So we can say on one hand, that's the worst of the worst. It has no qualities of, or we can say no, that the desert represents in a way the essence of God, which the essence of God has no qualities of his own. And the essence of God is just, it creates all these qualities. It creates the 10 sfirot, and it creates all the all the aspects and all the names, like the aspect of God which is above all names of God. That can be represented also by the desert. The desert is a place where it's ownerless. In other words, there is nothing other than pure godliness. There's no things, and you can take possession of a thing. There's a me and a thing and an I. No. So that's the essence of what the Torah is. The Torah was given to the Jewish people, but we always have to remember constantly, every moment, that the Torah is pure godliness. And because it's pure godliness, it means it's coming from a place which is totally above our understanding, our identity, our being. That's what the Torah is. If it's above everything, how did it come into the Torah? This is a very big miracle. That's the idea of uniting all opposites. The Torah is a book, and the essence of God is in a book. How did that happen? Just like we just finished talking about, how does the soul unite with the body? How does the Jewish soul unite with the regular soul in the body? But how can it be? It doesn't make any sense. Right? That's what happened in Mount Sinai. It didn't make any sense. It says their souls jumped out of their bodies. So you always have to remember the godliness of the Torah, and that the reason that we're doing the commandments is not for anything that we're going to receive, even though we do receive, but that's not the reason for doing it. We're doing it, the reason we're doing it is because there is no reason. It's pure godliness, and this is what God wants. And that's the whole reason we're being created, and that's the whole force that's creating us. Okay, so this unites these two opposites. On one hand, we have to be totally surrendered to God. We have no identity, nothing at all. And on the other hand, we have to do the commandments. We have to be who we are. We have to use all of our potential. We have to have a family, and we have to treat our children properly, and our wife properly, and our clients properly, and our friends properly, and our next door neighbor properly. And there's always constant challenges, and the world is always changing. And we have to adapt ourselves and be a positive influence whenever possible. And we can make mistakes, and we have to realize our mistakes. And that's what life is, right? That's what life is. It says, but once again, I thought we don't exist at all, right? We don't exist, and we're not there, and there's nothing there, and we have no free choice, and we don't exist whatsoever. So we don't have free choice, right? Right. So how can you say we have free choice? Because we have free choice. We have free choice, and we have to make right choices, and it's very important, our choices. But that doesn't make any sense. Exactly right. It doesn't make any sense. That's the desert. Nothing is owned. Nothing is owned. I'm sorry. Nothing is owned. You can't grab onto anything. It says we can say that these two opposite poles of totally being surrendered to God, of totally being surrendered to God, and at the same time being very powerfully assertive, right? We have to win battles. That's especially what we're in now, right? We're in now. We have the state of Israel, call it whatever you want to, but the one thing that they're always lacking is assertiveness. They don't want to win. They don't know how to win. They know how to survive, right? Tzva Haganah Israel, where the defensive, right? What do they call it? The defense corps. I don't even know how they call it. What do they call it in English? Israeli defense corps or something like that. We're not the defense corps. We're the victory corps. right? That's what we're supposed to be. Victory. So 1 second, I thought that's the opposite of Judaism. We're supposed to be surrendered. You got to be surrendered to God. We're nothing whatsoever. Of course, you have to be surrendered to God. So then, how can we be victorious? Because that's what God wants. You're not doing it. So how can you have these two opposites? This is especially in what we read right before the giving of the Torah. That's the power of the Torah. The midbar on the Shabbos, which is beforehand. Now, again, you have to get this straight, right? Once a person gets the Torah and he accepts on himself Judaism and he's a Jew and he does all the commandments, that fixes him up automatically. You're automatically fixed up. 20%. 20% you're fixed up. The rest you have to do yourself. If you learn Chassidut, then that fixes you up another, let's say, 20%, if you get the ideas. So if so, you got 60% you have to do totally on your own. You have to use the ideas, and you can use these ideas to be a monster. You can become a monster, a Hasidic monster, a religious monster, a rabbinical monster. You can be the worst, right? We see Yerovim ben Nevat. The Torah is replete with stories like this. Jews that they had the Torah and they had the secrets of the Torah and they had the mysteries and they were great and they were fantastic and they were chosen by God and they went. So if they did it, how can we not do it? Right? So that's the idea of Moshiach. Moshiach is going to educate everyone, so it'll be very difficult to make mistakes. Why? Because people won't 100% trust themselves. They'll be like a desert. That's why the Moshiach is going to be a king. He's going to be a person that's going to tell people that do things against what they understand, a king. And people will accept it. They'll say, okay, I'll do things. Because all of our problems is that we do only according to what we feel, what we understand. That's Adam. As long as we do only according to what we feel and understand, there's no place for accepting somebody else's opinion. That's the pupils of Rebbe Akiva, why they all died. And so they were just sure of themselves. And that's the idea of the desert. Desert shows on total surrender to God. Like a desert, Shakal Dashimba. Anyone can walk there. The Tochana Parsha, this whole Torah, that's why we read the Torah portion, which is called Bamidbar. That's the whole book of Numbers, is called Bamidbar. Bamidbar means in the desert. We read that before we receive the Torah on Shavuot to remind us that the main attitude we're supposed to have is the desert. The desert. But on the other hand, it's also called Numbers. Why is it called Numbers? Because they counted the Jewish people, that every Jew counts. In Hebrew, it's called Chumash HaPekudim. This indicates that every Jew is something separate, right? We don't say the Jews are just one big group. No, every Jew is another number, and every number is unique, and every number is different, and every number is necessary. So everybody is negated or they're important. So the answer is both are true. Like it says, Dabar Shebaminyan, lo batal, a thing which is always sold, a number that it's never negated. It's a law in tarubot, in mixtures. Gadol HaChashiva is the importance, because something is important, so therefore it's always counted. The Jewish people they're important, so God counts them. That all the Jewish people, all of the Jewish people, and every individual Jew. And this, of course, is true by every human being. Every human being is important. We can add on that these two opposites, namely being a separate entity and being totally surrendered, is also stressed in the reading of Parshat Bamidbar on the Shabbat right before Atzeret, before the giving of the Torah. This hints at that the giving of the Torah was in the desert, and also to separate between the curses which are in this week's Torah portion. B'chukotai says there's 49 curses, and then after that we give the Torah. So God, the Torah is given, and God wants to separate between the curses and the giving of the Torah. We separate with Bamidbar. Why? This hints at that the giving of the Torah was in the desert, a place which is ownerless. This stresses the idea of surrender to God, and you have to make yourself like a desert. And this is what separates you from the curses that we're doing this week. This week we read about the curses. Next week is Bamidbar, and after that is the giving of the Torah. We separate between the curses in Bechukotai to Atzeret, to the holiday of Shavuot. This stresses that we are something individual. Why? Atzorach behefsek, the fact that we have to separate is because the Torah is the source of all the blessings. And we want to separate these blessings from the curses. So if so, we're separate, right? We want this and we want this. Like it's stressed in the beginning of the Torah. The Torah begins with the letter Beit. And Beit is the first letter of blessing. The main blessing, which is stressed in the letter of Beit itself, that the letter Beit shows the biggest blessing of all. What's the blessing? That it's closed on three sides, the letter Beit, and it's open on one side, that this hints at the world, that the world was created by God in a way that it's surrounded by three sides alone. Except for the what's called the northern side. And so why is it surrounded only by three sides? So that man, by means of our service, we can complete the fourth side. So God, that's what we're talking about, this idea of responsibility. And in this is stressed the Maila of Adam, of man. Tokov HaMetzius, She'al Yado, that by means of man is stressed, the world is surrounded by four sides. There's no place for bad to come in. So God created the world. Breshit starts out the letter Beit. The letter Beit looks like that, right? This is a chaf, but there's a little thing over there. Beit. But the side is open. Why is it open? That's why God put man in the world, that we should close up the side, that there shouldn't be any bad. When you close up a Beit from all four sides, it's the final mem, the letter mem. The final mem is closed all the sides. Closed all the sides. This indicates on the ultimate level of holiness. Mem stuma, and we find this in a sentence in Isaiah. Isaiah, in what the 9th chapter of Isaiah, let's see those over here, what it was. 1 second. The 9th chapter of Isaiah, 6th sentence. And it says, what does it say over there? The marba hamisra. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got it wrong. The marba hamishura, right? Hamishura, right? I'm sorry. 1 second. Let me just get this right. It says that in the time of the Moshiach, that there's going to be tremendous peace and there'll be justice. A Meshura, there'll be justice. 1 second. Let me get this straight over here. Excuse me. Here it says. Here. The Marba Amisra. I was right. Amisra. Amisra. That there'll be justice in the world. Same word. There'll be tremendous justice and righteousness in the world. Interesting, this word misra should be written with, like any time a mem appears in the middle of a word, it's an open mem. See this little hole over there? See this letter mem? There's a little hole. There's a mem. Let's find another example. 1 second. Okay, we just had this mudgash. See, letter mem, there's a little hole there. Well, there where it's written a marba misra, it's written with a closed mem in the middle of the word. Here. What is this? How is this? What happened? There's bracha. Those base is closed on all the four sides. This is hinted at, and when God created the world with three sides, so that it'll be closed up. Oh, so it says, Davka Naseh Ha'olam Mukaf, the four sides. Here, Katsira Mem. Sorry, when you scroll down, I missed the place. Okay, the Mem, which is closed, and the word Lemarbe Hamisra. Lemarbe, usually this should be a Mem like this. See, the Mem is open, but this Marbe, this hints at Isaiah is hinting at the world, how it's going to be when Mashiach comes, that it'll be closed on all sides, so that the Geula, which we accomplish in this world, by revealing the letter Aleph, Alufa Shalom, into the Gola, and we comes Geula, and that closes up the three sides, that is not open for any bad to come in, that the fourth side is closed, so that the world is healthy. Like a person, God forbid, he has a hole in his stomach, a hole in his head, a hole in his eye, a hole that doesn't work properly. And when you close everything up and there's a closed system, a person, then he's healthy. Same thing with the world. If the world is open, so all this bad can come in, and the good goes away. As Mashiach is going to close it up, that's the whole idea of the closed mem. Okay, so what's the Rebbe want? What's the point the Rebbe wants? The Rebbe wants that the reason that the Torah was given was to unite two opposites: pure godliness and world. Pure godliness and world. Two opposites. There can't be any bigger opposite. How does he unite it? By the Jewish people. The Jewish people have to embody in themselves these two opposites. One, pure godliness. That's the desert, being given over to God totally like a desert. And also in the Torah portion about the desert, it's talking about counting the Jews. Also, if we remember, we learned before that the word desert is the same word for speaking, midaber. Yes, we can also, so therefore we have to be totally surrendered to God, but we also have to be tremendously powerful and strong and assertive, which, by the way, I mean, that's what's going on in the world now. If the state of Israel would just be connected totally to the Creator, totally negated to the Creator, that would give them the power to stand against the whole entire world, which they're going to have to do anyway. That was Abraham. He stood against the whole entire world. That's Judaism. Judaism is the whole world opposes us because we're here to improve the whole world. Not just like a child doesn't want to get a shot or take his vitamins or whatever it is, because he wants to have a good time, doesn't want to eat healthy food, wants to eat candies all the time, right? So the world is sick, and we're here to try to inject some holiness into the world, and it's no wonder that the world objects to this, right? The world resists, and we have to just ignore that fact, and we have to act who we are, right? We're here negated to the Creator so that the whole world should be a healthy place, but we have to be very assertive in the world. The Hakil, the Rebbe says, okay, we talked about all these wonderful ideas, philosophical, spiritual, Hasidic ideas. What about action? Toil, binyan zman groma. First of all, you have to Hakil kehilot, go around and gather up children, especially, and go around to the different synagogues, and they should teach Torah, especially in a way of hamidu talmidim harbe, make a lot of pupils. Asher im devorim amurim, have said every Shabbat, the Shabbat, which is this coming Shabbat, which is the Shabbat that is the Shabbat which blesses the whole month of Sivan, for sure we should. Us over here in Kfar Chabad, it's a little bit difficult because every place is religious over here. But there are some boys that go and they march to the surrounding towns, to different places, and they learn Torah there, or they start even Torah classes for these people who come. Number one. Number two, to arouse and to accelerate, to, I say, inspire every place that on Shavuot, when the 10 Commandments are read in synagogue, that all of the children should be there. That the children are the ones that they are our guarantors for receiving the Torah. Our children, they are guarantors for us. All the time, all of this is in a special stressing these two opposites of, on one hand, we have to be totally surrendered to God, and everything we have comes from God. But on the other hand, we have to, on one side, we have to be totally surrendered and united with Hashem and with all of the Jewish people as one. Like it says, lahakil kehilot, to gather up groups, and especially by means of the uniting of all of the Jewish people, men, women, and children, at the time of reading the Ten Commandments in synagogue. That's what's read on Shavuot. Namely, uniting all, not just men that learn Torah, but even little children that can't understand anything, bring them all to shul. But on the other hand, that's one thing we have to do. But we also, together with the fact that we're surrendered to God and we have no say in this whole business, we just do what God wants. But and we're also surrendering ourselves to be unified with all the Jewish people. Also, we have to stress your uniqueness of every single Jew, how every single Jew is tremendously important. And every Jew is totally unique from every other Jew, which in fact, this is true by all humanity, but we have to begin with the Jewish people to reveal it. That every one of them has to receive the Torah and have to learn the Torah and understand the Torah in his own way of understanding. And it could be where you understand is not correct. So you go to somebody and you ask questions. And sometimes by means of your questions, the person can understand that, hey, maybe he doesn't have the answers either. But everyone has to try to understand with your own mind what it says in the Torah, and to the place where you can even find new ideas in the Torah. Maybe you'll ask a question that no one has a good answer to, and you can make up an answer. Until somebody comes along and says, that's not the proper answer. You can't say a thing like that. Why not? And then you talk about it, right? Another person says, listen, maybe you got a good point, Every person according to his ability. May it be God's will, and this is the main thing, that these decisions that we make and resolutions to increase unity of all of the Jewish people as a preparation for receiving the Torah and hate arguments and love peace, may this speed up and, come faster. There must be a good word in English for this, and to accelerate, and bring immediately the negation, the ending of exile. That the reason is, why is there exile? Because the opposite of loving one another. But listen, it's a very difficult thing because it's so pleasurable to see bad in another person. You feel like you're a doctor, and no one else can, make a proper diagnosis, and you're making the diagnosis. You see what's bad in the other person. So this gives you a tremendous pleasure where people, to the degree that they enjoy so much finding something bad in other people, that even if there's nothing bad, they find it. They just look for it so much, they don't find. So yeah, they invent something. Don't take any chances. It's a mitzvah, the rois l'hachmer. That the reason is of opposite of we're in this exile is because Jews can't stand one another. If somebody has the opposite opinion from me, then, right, I hate him. I should understand a person has the opposite opinion from me and he's getting in my way. So he has his right? And there's always God is here. Don't forget about the Creator. You say to God, listen, God, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe both of us have something to learn from one another, but God, make peace over here. And you'll see big miracles. Your whole attention should not just be on the person that makes you feel bad, but it should be also on the Creator and also on yourself. Right? Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I have to fix myself up. And if I am right, so God help that this person. You see that all the Psalms are filled with this. King David had more enemies than he had hairs on his head. So it says, Rabu misaros roshi sonechino. But when you stop the reason for the exile, namely the lack of love, appreciation of one Jew to another, so automatically you negate the result, the exile. And immediately will be the true redemption by means of the Moshiach, that then will be the completion of the idea of giving the Torah Chadashim Ite Tzitzi, will see the value of every Jew, and then the Torah will really be alive. And Pashtus, we have to remember that just 40 days after they received the Torah and heard directly from God, don't worship idols, they worshiped the golden calf. So they didn't get the point inside of the Torah, which means surrender. They weren't willing to be surrendering to God. And especially now we're coming close to the time of the giving of the Torah, which is the first day of Sivan, when we are in Shabbat Mavorchim. That's going to be this coming Shabbat, this last Shabbat of this month blesses the month of Sivan. The Shabbat parsha is Behar Bechukotai. By us, it's Bechukotai alone. Is that we merit that we the yud to the goal, and what says of what is talked about in the beginning of Parshat Bahar. Bahar, last week's Torah portion. It says, when you come to the land of Israel, B'techilat Parshat Bechukotai, and in the beginning of Parshat Bechukotai, the land will bring forth its fruits and its trees. It says the land of Israel is going to bring out even bread, it says, and all sorts of garments will all grow from the ground. Even, barren trees, pine trees, all of a sudden they'll make edible fruits. And in addition to this, we also come to the time we'll come to Sefer Pekudim. We'll come to next week's Torah portion, which is Bamidbar, Pekudim. That there we have these two opposites of being like a desert and also being counted. Meaning the counting of the Jewish people, like it says, Atem taluktu echad achad bnei Israel, like Isaiah says, God will gather you up one at a time, Jewish people. Kulam yachad, all of them become one unity of Kahal Gadol. All right, we see an amazing thing in America. All of a sudden, all the Jews are faced with the fact that they're Jews. And there's a lot of Jews in America that say, I'm a Jew. I hate the Jews. That's what I am. I hate the Jews. I like the Palestinians. I like the Hamas. I like the Hezbollah. And little by little, one at a time, one, they're starting to think, maybe I'm off the wrong direction. Maybe what's going on, And you can see how it's just not en masse. All of a sudden, all the Jews say, wow, I am going to become a religious Jew, right? Suddenly you see little by little, they're all, Bibi Netanyahu put tefillin on. All of a sudden people see, wow, tefillin, and he knew how to put on. There's other people that put on, they didn't know how to put on. They put on in the middle of their nose. That all of a sudden people start to see, wow, hey, maybe, putting on tefillin is not a religious thing. Maybe it's a Jewish thing. Maybe I should do. And little by little, until we see that one by one, it says, echad achad, one at a time, the Jewish people will be gathered up by God. That's what Isaiah says. Where does he say it here? You want to see where he says it? There, 138. Usually I lose the place after that. Isaiah 20, chapter 27, sentence 11. 138. Let's do this over here. Here. Oh. And all of them together will become one existence, one big crowd of Jews until will be number 10. Number 10 will be the 10th song and the 10th para aduma. It says that up to now there's only been 9 red cows, and the Moshiach is going to make the 10th cow. The 10th will be holy. This will be minds of Moshiach. Quickly, immediately, he will be revealed. Amen, King Yiratzon, may be God's will. That immediately we'll see the Moshiach is already here. It says the Moshiach is already here. The Rebbe is the Moshiach. I mean, that's an obvious thing. Each person will point with his finger and say, behold, here the Moshiach is already here. And to this will come to the giving of the Torah and the ultimate completion in our holy land, in Jerusalem, the holy city, on Mount Zion, the holy mountain, and the holy temple, in the holy of holies in the temple. That in it is found the ark. What's there? The tablets that God gave on Mount Sinai. That this is Bechukotai, they're carved out, letters which are carved out, and they're carved out not just in the tablets, but they're carved out in the soul of every Jew. And the Rebbe stressed that when God spoke the words in Mount Sinai, that permeated the whole world. Torah chadasha mitetzetze. Suddenly the Torah will be a new Torah. What does it mean? It won't be just another book in the library for the Jews will feel the godliness in every word and every letter and every commandment. Will feel the godliness, the Torah of the Moshiach that will teach all of the people until they'll teach, until the teaching will be from God Himself. Me'iti teitze. Like it says, Lo yilmad od ish Yisrael, that people, Jews, will intrinsically understand. Like we just finished saying, putting on tefillin is not a religious thing; it's a Jewish thing, and Judaism is the fabric of the whole entire world, the foundation of the world. That all mankind will know God, all the Gentiles will do the 7 Noahide commandments, all the Jews will do all of the 613 commandments. It says, Lo morecha, God will not conceal Himself anymore. Your eyes will see your teacher immediately. This should happen immediately. And it will happen. As impossible as it seems to happen, as the reason it seems to be impossible is because our minds are in exile. And when Mashiach comes, our minds will also think differently. I just saw yesterday a speech from the Rebbe about that. Our minds will work differently. Our minds won't think only in selfish, mundane terms. No, it has to happen. It should happen. It's going to happen. I don't know why it hasn't happened. Too much trouble, too much difficulties, too much heartbreak in the world and the Jewish people. So we just have to try to ignore it as much as possible and make the best out of it and do things. And if you fail, no big deal. Just keep trying, right? And if people laugh at you and you scoff at you and this, let it go off your back like water off a duck's back. That's the reward you get for trying. You try, but you have to learn. You have to improve. So therefore, it's a good thing to have yourself a teacher, an advisor, a friend. Go out, learn Torah, learn Chassidut, be with others, help others. Ideally, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. If you're a woman, go out and try to get women to light candles Shabbat, hand out candles. You're a man, try to get men to put on tefillin. Go out with a pair of tefillin. Are you Jewish, sir? Would you like to put on tefillin? You'll be amazed at the result. You'll be amazed. I'm amazed. I go every day and I'm amazed. I'm just knocked out by the result. Try to get people to come to Torah classes. Right here we have our class in the morning. There's classes which are given, all wonderful classes that are given on the internet. Right, a person's not a Hasidic person. There's wonderful classes given by Lubavitcher rabbis and by Sephardic rabbis. And this, there are people that are negative. Try to avoid those people. I'm not going to say any names. There are that they love to pick on somebody and get angry at somebody else and find out how bad somebody else. If possible, try to avoid those rabbis. Some of them really, they have a tremendous Torah knowledge and they support all of their ego trips with all sorts of logic. But negative people, negative ones, try to avoid. Try to avoid negative, talk bad about the non-religious, talk bad about this, they talk about that. Pick out, as bad as those people might be, but find the good in everything. And that's what the idea of the Torah is, to find the good in everything that there is in the world. Everything there is in the world. And by means of doing, how do you do that? You have to surrender yourself a little bit, and then you can find the good which is in every Jew, every single Jew. And that's what's going to bring the future redemption. When you find the good in every Jew, have a little pair of tefillin. Ask, have you put on tefillin today, sir, my friend? No, I haven't. You'll be amazed, I'm telling you, at the reaction of people. If you don't believe in yourself, go with somebody else, go with a group that does it, and you will be happy. Okay, now we're going to do the Yom Yom. There we go.